1840, page 1841, 1842, 1843, 1844, 1845, 1846, 1847, 1848, 1849, 1850, page 1851, 1852, 1853, 1854, 1855, 1856, 1857, 1858, 1859, 1860, page 1861, 1862, 1863, 1864, 1865, 1866, 1867, 1868, 1869, 1870, page 1871, 1872, 1873, 1874, 1875, 1876, 1877, 1878, page 1879, distinguished Senator Anayo Rochas Okorocha, Imo West.
Mr. Senate President, sir, you pronounced my name with such a lovely feeling. I appreciate it. And thank you for recognizing me. Distinguished colleagues, God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I rise to move for the adoption of the vote and proceeding of the Tuesday, 7th December 2021. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Michael Nnachi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Michael Nnachi, Boy South. I rise to support the motion heavily moved by Senator Rochas Okorocha that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 7th December be adopted. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 7th December 2021 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 7th December 2021 is hereby approved. There is an announcement from distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi. And it reads, this is to inform distinguished senators that Pfizer vaccine booster shots are now available in the National Assembly Clinic. Senators can now approach the clinic to take their doses. Signed, distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi, Enugu North, Chairman, Committee on Primary Health Care and Communicable Diseases. Another announcement, Your Excellency, our sincere appreciation for your distinguished presence at my children's wedding. I, on behalf of my entire family, Senate of the Senate, led by the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Dr. Abdullahi, Your Excellency, Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ove Omo Agege, other principal officers of this Senate, my distinguished colleagues who are so numerous to mention here, for sharing in our joy and happiness on this memorable day. We felt lucky enough to be surrounded by your love and blessings, most distinguished, and also for being such an integral part of this day and our lives. You have provided amazing support throughout our wedding preparation process, and we look forward to sharing today and future special occasions together. Thank you for your abundant generosity and kindness with your gift. We are beyond grateful. Thank you so much. May Allah bless you abundantly. Signed, Senator Kabiru Ibrahim Gaya, Kano South Senatorial District. Another announcement. Your Excellency, invitation to the wedding of my son, Engineer Fan Owe Manager. It is my pleasure to invite the entire Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the solemnization of holy matrimony between my son, Engineer Fan Owe Manager, and his heartthrob, Engineer Faith Maro Okolocha, scheduled to hold at New Exodus Church of All Nations, Goodies Garden Hotel along Orogun Road, Abi, Delta State, on 20th December 2021 at 11 a.m. prompt. A reception follows immediately at Abi Girls Secondary School, Abi, Delta State. While looking forward to your esteemed presence at this milestone event of my family, please accept the assurances of my warmest regards. Signed, Senator James E. Manager, CON. Petitions? Any petitions? Senator Ayo Akin Elure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akin Elure, representing Ondo Central. Presentation of petition not laid but referred to the Committee on Ethics from the Office of the President of the Senate. Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, in line with Order 41 and 3, which is to present to the Senate some petitions yet to be laid from the Office of the President of the Senate, in order to officially place the petition in the public domain through the floor of the Senate, and for the votes and proceedings to capture the approval for referral. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, please find below a summary of petitions received from the Office of the President of the Senate for ease of reference. 1. Richard Ogbenohoro Martins. Against the Honorable Minister of Works, the Permanent Secretary and the Director of Human Resources of Works Ministry. Subject matter, Mr. President, complaint of conspiracy, fraudulent activities, threat to life, so false accusation, and undue hardship towards my employment or career by the Honorable Minister, Federal Minister of Works and Housing, Abuja, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola SAN, the Permanent Secretary, Alhaji Babangida Hussaini, and Director of Human Resources, Alhaji Umar Utono. 2. Gideon Doba, on behalf of University of Calabar Teaching Hospital, unpaid interns. Responded, the Chief Medical Director of University of Calabar Teaching Hospital. Subject matter, request for redress on unpaid internship allowances from September 2020 to date. A call for Senate intervention. 3. Wite Jacobs Obina, on behalf of 2017 to 2020 recruited officers, so the unpaid teachers from the 1,700 Federal Unity Schools. The head of service of the Federation and the Federal Ministry of Education are the respondents. A request for an urgent attention of the Senate on unpaid 1,700 recruited teachers
of federal unity colleges across the C geopolitical zone from 2017 to 2020. Number 4, Dr. Muiz Banire, on behalf of Kasuma Shipping Company Limited, responded, the Nigerian Army. Trespass, hijacking and stealing of over 19 acres of land beside the Army Signal Barracks, Mile 2, Lagos, belonging to Kasuma Shipping Company Limited. And number 5, a local, Banadine Ifeoma of Claron Shipping West Africa Limited, against the Nigerian Customs Service. Petition against the shutdown of Clarion Shipping West Africa 4 terminals in Apapa. Mr. President, distinguished senators of Federal Republic of Nigeria, to the best of my knowledge, none of the above petitioners are seeking judicial remedy. I therefore move, Mr. President, to seek the indulgence of the Senate to lay the above petition before the Senate for official referral to the committee for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman. Is any of the petitioners seeking any judicial remedy?
None, Mr. President, none.
You may lay the petitions. The petitions are referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Any more petitions? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation. Pardon me. I want to come under Order 4252 to commiserate on the demise of Dr. Joseph Wayas, who was presiding officer and indeed the chairman of the National Assembly and president of the Senate in the Second Republic. With your permission, Mr. President, I will read Order 42, which states that the matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sittings, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. 52 mainly reads that notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion in respect of any other proceeding for which this notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the Senators present. So, Mr. President, I wish under this order to request for your permission to raise a motion to honor our departed President of the Senate. I so move, Mr. President.
Leader, have you come under orders 42 and 52? Which orders? Is it 42 or 42 and 52? 42. No, Leader, you need 42 and 52.
42, 52.
Okay. So, because you have come under that order, it's necessary that I ask our colleagues to endorse the request, even though I know it's something that is already given. Those in favor that we allow the leader to bring his motion on the demise of late Senator Joseph Wayas, a presiding officer, Senate President, and Chairman of the National Assembly in the Second Republic, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Leader, you may proceed.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, with your permission, I'm rising to raise this motion On behalf of the leadership and the Senate and all the members of this august and hallowed chamber, and also with respect to our colleagues, that is the Senate delegation from Cross River State. In fact, this particular motion was drafted by Senator Jarigbe, who represents the district of late Joseph Wayas in this hallowed chamber. The Senate notes with shock the demise of His Excellency Distinguished Senator Joseph Wayas, former Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who died on Tuesday, 20th November 2021 at the age of 80 years. Senate notes that Senator Wayas was born in Basang of Budu, Cross River State on 21st May 1941 and attended Dennis Memorial Grammar School, Onitsha. He went to the United Kingdom where he studied at the Higher Tottenham College, London, and the West Bromwich College of Commerce, Science and Technology, Birmingham, and Aston University, also in the United Kingdom. Returning to Nigeria, he worked as a manager or controller from 1960 to 1969 for several companies in Nigeria and the United Kingdom. Senate observes that he was a member of the Society of International Affairs at the Lincoln University, United States. Senate is also aware that with the transition to civil rule in 1979, Senator Joseph Wayas was elected to the Senate on the banner of the National Party of Nigeria and appointed Senate President. He represented the Ogoja Senatorial District alongside Senator Okwa Ansa, who represented Calabar Senatorial District. Senate recalls that in the lead up to 1983 elections, Wayas was the leader of the MPN party's Lagos group and supported a change of government in Cross River State in opposition to the Home Front led by the incumbent governor Clement Isok. Senator Joseph Wayas left office along with other members of the Shagari administration following a coup on the New Year's Eve of 1983 and went into exile. He returned to the country in 1987 and was held in political detention from 1987 to 1988. Senate is aware that Senator Joseph Wayas was deputy chairman of the 1994-95 National Constitutional Conference Commission that organized and would drive the National Conference itself. Senate is also aware that Joseph Wayas was a founding member of All People's Party. He later joined the People's Democratic Party in 2001. He was a strong believer in federalism as the only solution to Nigeria's democratic problems, which had been manifested in Nigeria's civil war. And in October 2003, he spoke out against the ongoing local council reforms by the federal government, describing them as unconstitutional. Further aware that Senator Wayas was appointed chairman of the Board of Trustees of the South-South People's Assembly in January 2009.
Distinguished colleagues, please, let's listen in silence, please.
Westage. In January 2010, Wayas advocated that Vice President Goodluck Jonathan be authorized to act as president, paying the return of late President Umar Adwa, who was then incapacitated by illness for some time. Convinced that he was an eminent and committed leader, a perfect gentleman, a grassroots politician par excellence, and a nationalist, his contributions to democracy and good governance remains unparalleled. It will make his footprints indelible in the sense of time. To add this, Dr. Wayas was a presiding officer of this august Senate and this hallowed chamber. He contributed in no small terms to the greatness of this particular institution. With this, we regret his demise. It's a great loss to his family, the people of Cross River North, the government of Cross River State, and indeed the federal Republic of Nigeria. Accordingly, Senate resolved to 1. Observe a minute's silence in honor of the late Joseph Wayas. 2. Urge Senate to send a delegation to participate in his burial. And 3. Send a condolence letter and a delegation to commiserate with the family, the good people of his constituency, and the government of Cross River State. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, distinguished colleagues.
Senator Jarek Bell.
Mr. President, respected colleagues, I'm Jarek Bag. I represent the good people of Cross River North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the demise of the highly revered former Senate President is one death too many. The late former Senate President represented the people of Ogoja Senatorial District that I now represent as Cross River North. He was a quintessential gentleman, a man who loved his people and loved Nigeria. He spoke the 3 major languages in this country, the Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. And he related with all sense of conviviality with his colleagues and all his associates. He also acted as president of this country for 16 days when the president and vice presidents were out of this country. And he did that with so much credibility. We will miss him so much, but we submit to the superior will of God. May his soul rest in peace.
Senator Johnson.
The Bureau Manager is my name. I represent Delta South. Mr. President, I rise to add my voice in mourning this great man. When he was President of the Senate, I was a young man in the secondary school. And Mr. President, just like the young ones look at us these days and look at you as Senate President, in the televisions and everywhere, that is exactly the way I appreciated this great man. Colorful, his moving steps were marked with dignity, and a role model. And from that moment, I started praying to the Almighty God that one day I should become one of the distinguished senators. And that is what is happening in my life. To God Almighty be the glory. So he represented Cross River North in the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And amongst your colleagues, they elected him presiding officer, president of the Senate. It's a very serious achievement in the life of every man. Mr. President, those of you who are presiding officers, you must be proud of yourselves. And we admire you. The late Joseph Wayas was indeed a great man. The coup that took place that time, because of the circumstances of the time, nobody immediately succeeded him. The coup cut short the political lifespan of so many promising Nigerians. And after some time, because of what was happening in the country at the time, he was completely lost in the radar. Nobody was hearing about him. But much later, when democracy was born again, the late Joseph Wayas was seen very visible. And then the opportunity that I never had as a young man, I succeeded in coming very close to the man. And I saw in him a very committed Nigerian who loved his people, who loved his senatorial district, who loved Cross River State, who loved the South, who loved Nigerians. And so a great man is gone. And Mr. President, because he's the first Senate President in recent times to die, number 3 citizen at the time, this Senate, not in a motion now, but in an executive session, must come together, disagree to agree on how to immortalize this great man. So that by our tradition, because everything about here is based, everybody will go one after the other. When at the very ripe ages of our senior presidents, they may not be here. They may not be here. Some other persons will succeed them. And when a discussion is made about them, how to immortalize them will be based on how this one will be started. Mr. President, on behalf of the senatorial district that I represent, Delta South Senatorial District, I join everybody in this country in mourning this great man. May the gentle soul of Senator Dr. Joseph Wayas rest in perfect peace.
Senator Biodun Olujumi, Ekiti South.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I rise also to lend my voice to the eulogies passed on this gentleman, par excellence, Dr. Joseph Wayas. Mr. President, only yesterday in this chamber, we lost another great son of ours, one of us, a former senator from Ekiti, a quintessential gentleman, Senator Benga Aluko. And we held a 1 minute silence for him. Today, we're mourning another major senator, a former presiding officer of this chamber. Mr. President, Dr. Joseph Wayas, in his life, was a quintessential gentleman. He was a detribalized Nigerian. He spoke Yoruba to me anytime we were at any event together. And I knew him and knew his family. He was a family man and he loved Nigeria with his entire being. Mr. President, we have been having so many deaths recently. And we're losing so many of our great lights. The time has come for us to have a change of attitude to everything, so that when we are gone or someone dies, we can say good things about them. This is the time to take Nigeria seriously. This is the time for us, especially those of us that are positioned to be in these chambers right now, to take a different look at Nigeria, so that when we're old and gone, people can say, when they were here, they made a whole lot of difference. These deaths are pointers to what we should do as individuals and collectively as members of this hallowed chamber. Mr. President, it's a great loss to Nigeria and a great loss to Cross River State, but more especially a great loss to those of us that knew him physically. I also want to commiserate with the government and people of Cross River State and his immediate family. I wish him safe passage home, and I pray that this death would also help all of us to take a look at Nigeria and be selfless. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Thank you very much for your interventions. And before we go to the prayers, let me join our colleagues who made some remarks on the death of Senator Joseph Wayas, the third President of the Senate in the Second Republic. Senator Joseph Wayas has the presiding officer, President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, brought peace, productivity, and proficiency in the legislature then. And of course, they had a very good working relationship between the two major arms of government, between the legislature and the executive arm of government. Even though they had a House of Representatives that was presided over by another political party, and yet he was able to manage the Senate and the other chamber, the House of Representatives, in a very good way, in such a manner that there was productivity, high turnout of legislative interventions that made the executive arm of government at that time to function. So for us, we have lessons to learn from his skills in running the affairs of the National Assembly then, and the Senate in particular. Thank God we are managing ourselves here in the way and manner that President of the Senate, Joseph Wayas, ran the Senate in 1979 to 1984. I believe that he had a decent life, not a controversial person, very open-minded, like all of us here have said, and surely Nigeria will miss him, his family definitely will miss him, but this is a great loss to our nation. What our nation needs today particularly is unity in diversity, that all of us, regardless of where we come from, or what our political dispositions and persuasions are, or our religious affiliations, we are supposed to work together to ensure that Nigeria is a better place. And this is particularly for those of us who are in position of leadership, whether in the executive arm of government or in the legislature. And surely the life of late Joseph Wayas has something to offer to us in that respect. With these few remarks, we observe a minute's silence after we pass the prayers. So prayer one is observe a minute's silence in honor of late Senator Joseph Wayas, the former President of the Senate. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against any that say aye. Prayer two, urge the Senate to send a delegation to participate in his burial. I think we will work with the Cross River State government. We'll participate in the arrangement just like the prayer says. So those in favor of prayer 2, say aye. Those against any that say. On prayer 3, send a delegation to commiserate with the family and the government of Cross River State. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Let's observe a minute's silence in his honor, please. May the soul of late Senator Joseph Wayas, former Senate President, rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Abraham Lagwebe.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Distinguished colleagues, I come under Order 43. But under Order 43, the mic is on. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate. But no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise. Open the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. So, Your Excellency.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Unfortunate incident that took place both in Ilela, that is in Sokoto State, where about 45 people were killed by the bandits. And then again another one came up about 2 days ago, that is Monday night, where people were in a bus that is from Ebulutu to another place called Gidambawa. When the bandits stopped them, the bandits were 12 in number with guns. They sprayed the bus with the petrol and then set it ablaze. And they refused to allow anybody to help the people because they are holding guns. Anybody who attempted to do that was actually shot dead. In fact, they continued that until everybody died. There was even a pregnant woman there. That woman delivered there and the baby was also killed. So this is exactly the kind of problem we are facing. Nobody is helping us there. The security forces are not doing much in that area. And now the worst part of it is that the governor has stopped the vigilante groups. So in that kind of situation, we don't know even what is going to happen. Because nobody is going to assist you, no vigilant groups, and nothing whatsoever. So it's a real serious issue. In fact, I'm sorry to say I have been tired of talking about this times without number. Therefore, Your Excellency, security personnel to decisively tackle the menace of the bandits. Then second, to observe a minute silence in honor of the dead. I so move, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Because you have come under personal explanation, Order 43, the issue you've raised is not open to debate. So we can observe the 1 minute silence as requested in honor of our compatriots who were killed by the bandits. 1 minute silence, please. May the souls of our departed compatriots rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on Finance Bill 2021.
Order!
Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Finance Bill 2021 SB 873, first reading.
Finance Bill 2021, SB 873, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is also the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2021, SB 987, first reading.
National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Bill 2021, HB 987, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ahmed Babaketa on the Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards, etc. Act, Cap U15, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, we wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards, etc. Act Cap U15 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 874, first reading.
Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards, etc. Act Cap U15 LFN 2004 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 874, first reading taken. Please, distinguished colleagues, let's take our seats, please. Leader of the Senate. Distinguished Senator Alorijika, Senator Degi, please leave Senator Susam alone.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Aliu Sabi Abdullahi Baradian Borgu on the Nigerian Economic Diversification Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Leader, before I call the clerk, Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigeria Economic Diversification Bill 2021, SB 875, first reading.
Nigeria Economic Diversification Bill 2021, SB 875, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator OG 21. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Immigration Act 2015 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 877, first reading.
Immigration Act 2015 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 877, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Aviation in respect of 1. Nigerian Meteorological Agency Act 2003, Repeal and Re-enactment Bill 2021. 2. Nigerian College of Aviation Technology Act, Cap N96, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Re-enactment Bill N90, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Re-enactment Bill 2021. 4. Civil Aviation Act 2006, Repeal and Re-enactment Bill 2021. 5. Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Act, Cap F5, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Re-enactment Bill 2021. And 6. Nigerian Safety, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Aviation, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Distinguished Senator Smart Adeyemi, Kogi West, Sodona Lokoja.
Mr. President, I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive the Bill 2021 SB 192, Nigeria College of Aviation Technology Cap N96, Law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment 2021, Nigeria Airspace Management Agency Act Cap N90, Law of the Federal Republic Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021 SB 194, Civil Aviation Act 2006, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Act Cap 2F5, Law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021, and Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment Bill Act 2021 SB 197 to be laid. I so move, Mr. President.
I need a seconder. Senator Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf.
Mr. On the reports of the Committee on Aviation, I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive the reports of the Committee on Aviation on the bills listed, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Chairman, you may lead the reports, please. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh business of the day is the presentation on the SARS protest. The mayhem visited on the ancient city of Calabar, the first of Nigeria, on 23rd and 24th October 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobir, Chairman of the Committee, the Sardona of Gobir, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobir.
Yes, sir. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do receive the report of Joint Committee on National Security and Intelligence, Defense, Police Affairs, and Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the SARS protest, the mayhem that visited the ancient city of Calabar, the first capital of Nigeria, on 23rd and 24th October 2020. I so move. Right.
I need a seconder. Senator Saidu Alkali.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Saidu Alkali.
Distinguished colleagues, please. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of Joint Committee on National Security and Intelligence, Defense, Police Affairs and Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on SARS protest, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You may read the report, please.
Report, sir.
But there is something that I want.
You may let the report. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate. Aha, that's better. Leader of the Senate. Before then, let me just announce the Senate is working to revise or amend the Senate Standing Orders 2015 as amended. And this is with a view to bringing in the necessary corrections and introductions of issues or committees particularly that were created but are not reflected in the standing orders. So jurisdictions are clearly and I think better defined as proposed, and of course some other issues that will help the Senate to run itself better and improved. So the copies of the proposals will be distributed today, and the idea is for all of us to study between now and Monday, and on Tuesday we'll look into the amendments proposed. So if any of us has any idea of an additional thing or suggestion or what has been introduced may not be necessarily important, by Tuesday we should be able to have our positions. But it is inevitable that the standing orders as they are today have to be amended for us to be up to date with everything that we do here. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the executive bill standing in my name on the Finance Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read first time in this distinguished chamber yesterday, 8th December 2021. In view of the importance of this bill and the need to expedite action on its passage, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do suspend the Rule 79, subsection 1, in order to read the bill the second time. I so move.
Minority Leader. Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion.
Leader, go ahead, please. But where are the copies? I haven't seen mine. Where are the copies? The lead debate. Have we all gotten our copies of the lead debate? Okay, leader, go ahead. Which question? No. This.
President and distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead these debates on the very important bill titled the Finance Bill 2021. The bill was read the first time in this hallowed chamber yesterday, Tuesday, 8th December 2021. The Finance Bill 2021 seeks to support the implementation of the 2022 excise, fiscal and other relevant laws. This bill has been fast-tracked in order to precede our consideration of the 2022 budget. The bill specifically provides for, one, the enhancement of domestic revenue mobilization efforts to increase taxation and tax collection, and also increase non-taxable revenue, non-tax revenue. Two, to improve on tax administration and legislative drafting reforms, particularly to support the ongoing automation reforms by the Federal Revenue Service. Three, to accelerate international taxation reforms to enhance the collection of taxes from non-resident individuals and companies that nevertheless derive their revenues and profits from Nigeria. Four, implement financial sector reforms to support ongoing capital market reforms relating to securities lending transactions, real estate investments, trusts, unit trust schemes, and the recapitalization of insurance companies. And five, prioritize critical public financial management reforms regarding the Federal Inland Revenue Service vital role in coordinating tax administration as well as the enforcement of key fiscal rules under the 1999 Constitution as amended, and also Finance and Control and Management Act and other relevant laws of the country. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, the Nigerian economy grew by 2.28% in the third quarter, compared with 2.12% in the previous year period, that's in 2020. The marginal improvement in the economy reflected growth in oil output, the service sector, mostly driven by activities in telecommunications, agriculture, and trade sectors. Examining other trends in the economy, inflation rose to 11.61% in October 2019. This was 0.36 percentage points higher than 11.24% in September 2019. Federal government's external debt profile stood at 22.89 trillion in the first half of 2019 and was 28% higher than 17.3 trillion recorded in the first half of 2018. Imports grew by 8.2% quarter on quarter in the second quarter of 2019 compared to 1.34% growth rate of the economy, growth in exports. Overall, the medium-term outlook for the country from the World Bank IMF is one of slowly growing but a stable economy. The World Bank and IMF projected GDP growth rate at 2.2% and 2.3% respectively. There is room for improvement, a lot of room for improvement in the economic outlook, if execution of policy reforms is accelerated and regulatory uncertainty is minimized. This is exactly what this finance bill seeks to advocate. This finance bill is with a view to consolidate and build on these macroeconomic trends and to help reduce budget deficit by increasing the revenues that are coming to the nation. The President Commander-in-Chief is requesting the National Assembly to amend various tax laws in Nigeria in order to raise these revenues. Therefore, the bill has these strategic objectives. One, promoting fiscal equity. Two, reforming domestic tax laws to align them with global best practices. Three, introducing tax incentives for investment in infrastructure and capital markets. Four, supporting small, medium, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and raising revenues for government. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, currently companies that declare and pay interim dividends are required to pay taxes or income tax at 30% on such dividends to the Federal Inland Revenue Service. There is a proposal in this bill to repeal this provision, which also specifies that withholding taxes should not be applied on dividends that are not paid in money in the finance bill. While the repeal will address the intended exemption of advance tax on interim dividend, it may also imply that withholding taxes should be applied on bonus shares or dividend in specie. The bill seeks to amend the contentious commencement and cessation rules in the Companies Income Tax Administration. The effect of these rules is that companies suffer tax twice on profits at least 12 months when they commence business. Conversely, on cessation of business, a period up to 12 months escapes tax. The removal of these rules is considered a welcome development. Anti-avoidance provisions for business organizations. CETA empowers Federal Inland Revenue Service to grant certain exemptions on group reorganizations where certain criteria are fulfilled. Some of the criteria include that 1, the companies involved should be part of a recognized group of companies, and 2, the transactions should be for the purpose of better reorganization of the trade or business. The bill proposes that to obtain the exemption, the entities involved should be part of a recognized group of companies 365 days before the transaction, and the relevant assets should not be disposed earlier than 365 days after the transaction. The bill defines the recognized group of companies as a group of companies as prescribed under the accounting standards. Personal Income Tax Act. In this area, the following amendments were put in this Finance Act, or in this Finance Bill. 1, amendment to clarify that pension contributions no longer require the approval of the Joint Tax Board to be tax deductible. 2, on the other hand, the bill seeks to remove the tax exemption on withdrawal from pension schemes except the prescribed conditions are met. 3, child relief, that is about 2,500 naira per child up to a maximum of 4 children, and dependent relief 2,000 naira per dependent up to a maximum of 2 are to be deleted. 4, banks will be required to request for tax identification number before opening bank accounts for individuals, while existing account holders must provide their TIN to continue operating their accounts. 5, emails are to be accepted by tax authorities as a formal channel of correspondence with taxpayers. 6, penalty for failure to tax will also apply to agents appointed for tax deduction. This penalty is 10% of the tax not deducted, plus interest at the prevailing monetary policy rate of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And finally, the conditions attached to tax exemptions on gratuities have been removed. Therefore, gratuities are unconditionally tax exempt. The duties currently performed by the Joint Tax Board as related to administering the Personal Income Tax Act will now be performed by the Federal Inland Revenue Service. This seems to be an error in the process of amendment to replace the word board as it appears in the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Value added tax, VAT. Mr. President, my colleagues, the bill is introducing VAT exemption on group reorganizations, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the entities involved are part of a recognized group of companies 365 days before the transaction, and the relevant assets are not disposed earlier than 365 days after the transaction. The current practice is that companies send an approval request letter under CETA section 29, subsection 9 to the Federal Revenue Service and include VAT exemption request, even though there is technically no basis for this in the VAT Act. The Finance Bill seeks to introduce sweeping changes in the tax laws, covering 7 different tax laws. Many of the changes are expected to have positive impact on investment and the ease of paying taxes, especially for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Going forward, we hope that the changes in the tax laws will be on an annual basis to ensure that Nigeria's tax system continues to evolve in line with changes in business and economic conditions. Then there are also penalties. The penalty for VAT of late filing on returns has been increased under this bill to 50,000 naira for the first month and 25,000 for subsequent months of failure. The penalty for failure to register for VAT is reviewed upwards to 50,000 naira for the first month of default and 25,000 naira for each subsequent month of default. The penalty for failure to notify Federal Revenue Service to change in company address may be reviewed upwards to to 50,000 naira for first month of default and 25,000 for each subsequent month of default. This policy also covers failure to notify Federal Inland Revenue Service of permanent cessation of trade or businesses. And the issue also of Capital Gains Tax Act. Similar to the VAT amendment, the bill also is introducing capital gains tax exemption on group reorganization, provided that the following conditions are met. Assets are sold to a Nigerian company and is for better organization of the trade or business. 2, the entities involved are within the recognized group 365 days before the transaction, and the relevant assets are not disposed earlier than 365 days after the transaction. The current practice is that companies send an approval request letter under CETA Section 29, subsection 9 to the Federal Inland Revenue Service and include CGT exemption request on compensation or loss. Currently, the CGT Act imposes CGT on compensation for loss of employment above 10,000 naira. The bill seeks to expand the coverage of this provision by renaming it compensation for loss and increasing the minimum threshold from 10,000 naira to 10 million. Quite significantly, the finance bill seeks to introduce sweeping changes to the tax laws, covering 7 different tax laws. Many of the changes are expected to have a positive impact on investments and the ease of paying taxes, especially for micro, small, and medium enterprises. Going forward, we hope that changes to the tax laws will be on an annual basis to ensure that Nigeria's tax system continues to evolve in line with economic realities and conditions. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I believe that this bill is tailored to meet the critical needs of this country at this point of our domestic evolution. We must ensure that we raise the relevant revenue so that we can curtail our debt profile in order to improve the foundation of our economy. All these are targeted at making Nigeria move to the next level of economic and social development. I therefore urge you, my distinguished colleagues, to support the second reading of this bill and committal to the relevant committee for detailed consideration. I so submit. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, my distinguished colleagues.
Any contributions? Yes, very distinguished Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru. I represent Osun Central Senatorial District. I stand up to not only second the debate, but also to state that the intendment of the finance bill is very germane, particularly having regard to the need to re-energize our economy and ensure that we are able to raise necessary resources to meet the expenditure of government. While at the same time, we also need to liberalize our system to ensure that we're able to attract the necessary investments to be able to catalyze and develop the real sector of the economy. And this is in tandem with the desire of the present administration to ensure that the reliance only on the oil sector is actually not be the order of the day. What we have realized in the past 2 or 3 years is that because of the seriousness attached to raising non-oil revenue, the question of having a very robust, dynamic, and efficient taxation regime cannot be overemphasized. Secondly, too, the target of this bill, which is also very critical to be highlighted, is the question of automation of the processes of the Federal Inland Revenue Services and ensuring that new financing transactions like securities lending transaction, real investment estate trust, unit trust scheme, and recapitalization of insurance companies are given necessary attention in the new bill. And of course, the way the world is going is to ensure that we have an effective public finance management system so that we'll be able to address the deficit in our budget system. But in doing this too, we also need to align it with the interest of ensuring that the revenue generated is not done in such a way as to hamper necessary injection of new investment in our economy. And I also believe that support to the MSME and capturing them within, the tax net are very critical requirements at this stage of our development. So I urge our distinguished colleague to support the second reading of this very important finance bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this will be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act amend the relevant tax, excise and duty statutes in line with macroeconomic policy reforms of the federal government to amend and to make further provisions in specific laws in connection with the public financial management of the Federation and for other matters connected therewith 2021 SB 873 second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the relevant tax, excises and duty statutes in line with macroeconomic policy reforms of the federal government to amend and to make further provisions in specific laws in connection with public financial management of the Federation and for other matters connected there with 2021 second reading taken. And the bill is referred to committees on finance, customs, and trade and investment. Leader, do we have up to 1 week for them? Do we have up to 1 week? Yeah. No. The report, we take it on Tuesday. Not 1 week. On Tuesday. So, it's not supposed to be 1 week. The report, this joint committee will report to the Senate. They will lay the report, lay and consider on Tuesday next week. The chairman, finance is not here. The vice chairman is here. Senator Isa Jibrin. Okay, yeah, you are here. Finance, customs, the chairman customs is here. Trade and investment is here. So the three committees will have to work from today up to Monday, so that we have the report by Tuesday. And this is necessary because we are supposed to pass the Finance Act amendment before we pass the budget. And it is our hope that we'll be able to consider the budget on Wednesday next week by the grace of God. So please, the three committees should have to work between today up to Monday. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the second reading of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this great chamber on Wednesday, 1st July 2020. Mr. President, we wish to invite distinguished Senator Kalu Oji Uzo Kalu to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Very distinguished Senator Oji Uzo Kalu, the Chief of the Federation, Kibian Kabi.
Leader, you address me well. Leader.
No, you have so many titles.
Okay. Mr. President, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, you may wish to recall that this bill was passed first reading on the 30th June 2020. It is also worthy of note that this will be the first time an attempt is made to amend the law since it became Act in 2015. This bill therefore seeks to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015, the sections contradicting the principle of fair hearing and court jurisdiction as provided in the Constitution. This is further to avert loggerheads between the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and the Constitution. Mr. President, the recommendations are as follows. First, Section 8.4 of the Principle of Acts, which provides, I quote, the arraignment and trial of a suspect for a crime shall be in accordance with provision of the Act, unless otherwise stated in this Act, will be amended by deleting unless otherwise stated in the Act, by inserting an Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. The reason is that the Constitution, the Supreme Law, provides in Section 1.1 as follows. This Constitution is supreme, and its provision shall have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In view of the above provision of the Constitution, all authorities in Nigeria should conform to the constitutional provision. Therefore, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act shall also conform with the supreme provision of the Constitution 1999 as amended. Further, the court has held that in 1999 Constitution as amended is a fundamental law on which every law in Nigeria rests. More so, the Supreme Court Fabi JAC on the Supreme Court of the Supremacy of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria said, I quote, the Constitution of Nigeria is ground norm, non-wise as a basic norm, from which all other laws in the society derive its validity. Each legal norm of the society derives its validity from the basic norm, and any other law that is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution must give way or abate. The court has all that. The Constitution of a nation is a further not only the jurisprudence but also the legal system. In Greek, it is Alpha and Omega. It is the parameter which all statutes are measured. Section 253 of the Constitution provides more. Section 273 provides for the purpose of existence of any jurisdiction conferred upon it under this Constitution or any law. A federal high court of a state shall be duly constituted if it consists at least one judge of the court. More so, the Court of Appeal, that a simple judge sitting in the court is qualified and had the power to try criminal offenses. Reading the provisions of 253 and Section 273 together with the Section 237 of the Constitution 1999 as amended, we clearly spell out the composition of the judges of the court and the justices of Court of Appeal, and the powers to hear and determine matters before equally provided for by the same Constitution. The Constitution should be read together on the provisions to establish composition and jurisdiction of the courts. The various high courts and Court of Appeals rules and provisions with regard to the position of pending cases. When judges are elevated, more often the position is a matter to start de novo. However, to allow a judge who is elevated to a Court of Appeal to determine cases before him, while a High Court judge will raise the issue of jurisdiction. Although the Constitution says in Section 2522 that the National Assembly will and by law make provisions conferring upon the Federal High Court additional powers to this conferred by the Constitution. Yet, there exists a lacuna in the respect of the provision of elevated judge from High Court to Court of Appeal. That is the gap that needs to be filled. It will be advisable that the Constitution will be amended expressly to handle the gap created when judges are elevated to next bench, to be given right or powers to conclude power-hard cases on elevation before moving to the next level. In view of the aforementioned, we submit with this issue raised that constitutional amendment is the best option to take care of such lacuna. Further, general observation, our judiciary systems recognizes and apply the rule have steered the crisis, meaning rules of precedence and hierarchy of courts. More so, courts are classified accordingly. The Constitution and other state laws, we should clearly demarcate or clearly spell out jurisdiction of court to avoid contradiction and uncertainty. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we can still set lofty goals for ourselves. I hope we can agree that with this amendment, we aspire to create a criminal justice administration legislation that is both for effective and more humane. By effective, I mean that we should respond to crime in ways that produce social desirable results, greater safety, less fear, less suffering, greater respect for rule of law, and less injustice. And that we should also effectively invest in our precious financial and human resources in ways that minimize the results we desire. By more humane, I mean we should respond to crime in ways that recognize humanity of those victimized by crime, those arrested, those convicted of crime, and those who experience the rapid effects of crime of our justice system. This affirmation of humanity, as I see it, incorporates value we both dear to our democracy. Such equal protection of laws, access to rights guaranteed by our Constitution and our fundamental belief in the dignity. Mr. President, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Having proposed for this, I will ask my colleagues to carefully look into this matter because I was a victim of this section of the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Anyone? Yes. Very distinguished Senator Gabriel Suswam.
Mr. President, I'm Dr. Gabriel Suswam, representing Benue North East Senatorial District. Mr. President, the amendment of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act is something that must be done. I want this be for this House to amend the entire Administration of Criminal Justice Act. It is not just about some section as mentioned here by the proposer of this bill. We need to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. It was passed in a hurry and there are a lot of mistakes that are involved. People have been unjustly convicted because of the mistakes that have been found in this, but because they have not been challenged up to the Supreme Court, we now have a singular opportunity now, Mr. President, for us as proposed here. He has proposed a few sections of it, but there are a lot of sections. Mr. President, it might interest you to know that just about 2 weeks ago, when all the judges were here for a conference, I had cause to interact with a few of them who came to see me. Most of their complaint was on the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. It will also interest you to know that in most states, Olorigwe, Mr. President, most states have refused to domesticate Aja in their state. That means that it does not work well, or it does not work in consonance with the aspirations of those states. And so it is important and imperative for us, given this opportunity for us to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, not just sections are selected here by the mover of this bill. Mr. President, I so submit.
Well, those in favor that this will be now read the second time, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 and for other related matters 2021 SB 465, second reading.
bill for an act to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 and for other related matters 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the University of History and Archaeology Establishment Etc. Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this great chamber on Tuesday, 17th March 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Oyetola Isa Ashuru to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Ashuru Oyetola Isa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Ashuru Oyetola Isa, representing the good people of Kwara South. I stand to lead debate on the establishment of University of History and Archaeology, Bill 2020. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead debate on a bill for an act to establish the University of History and Archaeology in Isye as a degree-awarding institution, specially dedicated to research and training in history and archaeology and other related disciplines. This bill was read for the first time in this Allo chamber on Tuesday, 17th of March 2020. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is a matter of common knowledge that history and archaeology go to the root of human existence, and we can only appreciate our present and probably direct our future if we are well equipped with knowledge of the past. The proposed university sought to be established by this bill is a specialized institution which will be specially dedicated to research and training in history and archaeology and other related disciplines. Isye in Kwara South Senatorial District is very rich in unique historical monuments. The first national museum in Nigeria was established in 1945 at Isye to house the world's largest collection of relics in soft stone sculpture at Isye. More discoveries are still being made on that site, which provides a justification for host of this proposed university. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the proposed university is necessary against these backdrops. Number one, undisputable importance of knowledge in the field of history and archaeology and related disciplines, which are falling short over the years in Nigeria. The proposed university will dedicate sustained attention to these matters, among other concerns. The central objective is to use such findings to mobilize Nigerians towards greater commitment to nation building. The establishment of this specialized university will further enhance the economic influence of visitors worldwide, as in pyramids of Egypt, the temples in Greece, Machu Picchu, and Great Wall in China, among many others. The proposed university will also serve as a center for periodic. May I state here that other nations of the world have such specialized institutions devoted to history and archaeology, such as Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The specific objectives of this bill, among others, are to encourage the advancement of learning and opportunity of acquiring higher and liberal education in field of history and archaeology, to provide courses of instruction and training to various levels of personnel required for the fields of history and archaeology, to develop a novel academic and professional program, postgraduate research, leading to award of diplomas, first degree, higher degrees in history, archaeology, and related fields. To establish appropriate relationship with other national and international institutions involved in training, research, and development. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the establishment of this University of History and Archaeology, a present site of museum at Isay in Kwara State, will further preserve these soft stones in urban form, enable the student to have in-depth knowledge of these historic relics, irrespective of race, religion, state, or nationality. In line with Order 77-3 of our standing rules, the financial compendium of the establishment of the university is attached. My President, distinguished colleagues, I urge you all to support the second reading of this bill to foster the best of cultural and democratic ideals of this nation. I so submit.
Distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar Suleiman.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North, and we all are. Mr. President, I rise to second that the bill of the University of History and Archaeology is here be considered and read for the second term. Mr. President, as is a popular axiom that you don't know where you are going to, or you cannot go there if you don't know where you are coming from, is relevant at all times. History studies have been neglected in our societies, and of course this has significant impact on the manner we are progressing as a people. We need to revisit this, and establishing this institution in Isay, where already historical monuments are available, will be the right thing to do. Mr. President, I encourage us to support this bill so that it will be read for the second time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Engineer Kabir Barkia, Katsina Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good colleagues. I am Senator Engineer Kabir Barkia, representing Katsina Central. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second this very, very important bill, at least for its passage, because of its importance. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, everybody knows the importance of history. But unfortunately, this country, since the removal of history as a subject in our public schools, now our children don't know where they came from and where they are now. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, history is very, very important. Of course, we have to know the history of our culture, history of our religion, so that yes, we know the history of even our ancestors, where we came from and where we are. So, Mr. President, not only establishing this university, we have to also call the federal government to bring back the history subject in our public school. So that, for example, after establishing this university, Mr. President, where do we have the children that will attend this university? If, for example, now we didn't bring back the history as a subject. So, Mr. President, I really rise and support the passage of this bill because of its importance. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act establishing University of History, Archaeology and Education and for related matters 2021, SB 328, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the University of History, Archaeology and Education and for related matters 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Community Dispute Resolution Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber yesterday, Tuesday, 7th December 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Muhammad Sani Musa to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Muhammad Sani Musa, Niger East.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the general principles of the Community Dispute Resolution Bill 2021. The bill seeks to provide for the settlement of certain civil disputes by conciliation, mediation and traditional dispute resolution mechanisms to set out the guiding principles applicable in Nigeria. The bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, December 7, 2021. The principal object of this bill is to put in place a legal framework for the settlement of certain civil disputes for conciliation, mediation and traditional dispute resolution. Resolution of disputes forms part and parcel of everyday life in any given society. Hence, effective dispute resolution mechanisms in a country will guarantee peace, is an enabler of trade and investment, and contribute to economic, social, and political development of the country. The 1999 Constitution obligates the states to ensure access to justice, the ability of people to seek and obtain a remedy for grievances in line with human rights standards for all persons. The Constitution under Chapter 7 provides for the judiciary as one of the three arms of government whose mandate is to protect and serve justice. In Nigeria, disputes are mainly resolved through the court process. This process is costly, takes longer for disputes to be resolved, resulting in huge backlogs in courts. Parties are not in control of the outcome of a dispute and does not always result in reconciling the parties. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, numerous benefits will accrue if this bill is passed into law due to the following reasons. 1. Provide an effective mechanism for amicable dispute resolution. 2. Promote a conciliatory approach to dispute resolution. Facilitate timely resolution of disputes at a relatively affordable cost. Facilitate access to justice. Enhance community and individual involvement in dispute resolution and foster peace and cohesion. This bill therefore seeks to implement the provisions of the Constitution with respect to enhancing access to justice and promoting the use of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms in resolving disputes. This bill, when enacted, will apply to certain civil disputes, including disputes where the government is a party. However, the law will not apply to disputes concerning interpretation of the Constitution, claims for violation, infringement or denial of fundamental human rights, disputes governed by the Arbitration Act, election disputes, and disputes involving public interest. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, I am convinced beyond all reasonable shadow of doubt that this bill deserves the support of the entire Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Smart Ademi, Kogi West.
Mr. President, I rise to support this bill. And I rise to support this bill because of the time we are in our nation. I'm also globally, Mr. President. I think more than ever before in the history of mankind, we can see a lot of killings, wanton destruction of properties, and people taking law into their hands. Again, Mr. President, in the course of our deliberations on the amendment of the Constitution, there were a lot of requests for us to look at how we can involve traditional rulers and opinion leaders in the art of governance towards maintaining peace and stability of our nation. And in the peace and stability of our nation lies prosperity and advancement of our people. So, Mr. President, I think this bill is a bill that is timely, and I think it deserves the support of all of us, because this will help to stop agitations which has resulted into killings of even the younger people, younger generation. And I think, Mr. President, if this bill gets to the public hearing, we'll be able to deliberate further, looking at how we can use this bill as a bridge between the former legal structures that we have and a kind of community way of resolving a crisis, not allowing it to get to the point of even going to the former court for litigation. And this will help our people and stop killing and destruction of properties. And of course, improving the well-being of the common people, especially in the rural areas where there are constant grief and agitations and killings emanating from land dispute and so minor disputes that can be resolved amicably. I think this bill, Mr. President, deserves our support. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this will be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the settlement of certain civil disputes by conciliation, mediation, and traditional dispute resolution mechanisms to set out the guiding principles applicable and for connected purposes 2021 SB 848 second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the settlement of certain civil disputes by conciliation, mediation, and traditional dispute resolution mechanism to set out the guiding principles applicable and for connected purposes 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the resumption of the adjourned consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Education and TED Funds on the Federal College of Forestry, Wayas, Duku, Gombe State Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators, we recall that further consideration of the report of the Committee of the Whole was deferred for further legislative action on Tuesday, 23rd November 2021. Mr. President, with your permission, I will to move that the Senate do resolve into the Committee of the Whole to resume consideration of the report.
Someone is going to represent Senator Abubakar. Aha, okay. The Senator Smart Ademi.
Mr. President, I rise on behalf of the Senate Committee on TED Fund that the Senate do receive a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Education, Numa, Adamawa State, and for other matters connected there in 2021. I also move, Mr. President, that the Senate do receive a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal College of Forestry, Wayas, Duku, Gombe State, and for other matters connected therein, 2021, Senate Bill 308. I so move, Mr. President.
Leader, we are resuming the consideration, right? Yeah. Okay. But do we have the copies? Okay, committee of the whole then. Committee of the whole. Just move the motion for the committee of the whole. Oh. Okay. Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I rise to second the motion.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate dissolves into committee of the whole to resume the consideration of the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, we considered clause 1 and clause 2. So we'll resume from clause 3, the bill to establish Federal College of Forestry, Wayas, Duku, Gombe State. And clause 3 is on page 4. So those in favor that this clause 3, clause 4, powers of the governing council, clause 5, tenure of members of the council, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, terms and conditions of service. Clause 7, procedure of the council. Clause 8, Clause 9, and Clause 10, selection board for other principal officers. Those in favor of clauses 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 9, the academic board. Those in favor of clause 11, clause 12, visitation, clause 13, power of minister, clause 14, the provost, and clause 15. And clause 15, deputy provost on page 12. Stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes. Clause 16, the registrar and other staff of the college. Those who are at clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21 is on page 20, the resignation of appointment of principal officers. Clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, and clause 25 annual reports on page 21. Those in favor of those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 26, office premises. Those in favor of clauses 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of clauses 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation on page 36, the 26 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedule stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 30 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Okay, distinguished colleagues, we are going to resume the consideration of this report from clause 6 on page 7, composition, tenure, and powers of the Council of the University. On page 7. So those in favor of clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10, general fund of the university, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes. Those in favor of clause 11, transfer of property, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15, power of visitor to decide meaning of statutes, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes. Those in favor of the clause 16 on page 17, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 21, exclusion of discrimination on account of race, religion, etc. Those in favor of clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, and clause 25, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of clause 26, clause 27, clause 28, clause 29 on page 26, and clause 30, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of interpretation on page 28, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title on page 30, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedules 1, 2, and 3, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the long title on page 1, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move the motion that the chair report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion that the Senate revert to plenary to report progress.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the chair reports progress say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Senate in the Committee of the Whole resumed consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal College of Forestry, Wayas, Gombe State Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clause 3 to 35 as recommended. Interpretation as recommended. Short title as recommended. Schedule as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate also in the Committee of the Whole resumed consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund on the Federal University of Education Newman Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clause 6 to 30 as recommended. Interpretation as recommended. Short title as recommended. Schedules as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion that these two bills be read a third time.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I second the motion that the bills.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that these two bills be now read the third time say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act establishing the Federal College of Forestry, Wayas, Gombe State, to provide full-time courses in forestry technology and development to improve genetic resources of forestries and ecosystem for economic development and applied science management and other fields of studies and for related matters 2021 SB 308 third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Numan, Adamawa State, and for other matters connected therewith 2021 SB 522 third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Forestry, Wayas, Gombe State, to provide full-time courses in forestry technology and development to improve genetic resources of forestries and ecosystem for economic development and applied science management and other fields of studies and for related matters 2021 third reading taken, and the bill is hereby passed. A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Numan, Adamawa State, and for other matters connected there with 2021 third reading, and the bill is also passed. Congratulations. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe on the approval for promissory notes and debt issuance program of the federal government. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe to move this motion. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe, Kwara Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahya Oloregbe. I represent Kwara Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to move a motion titled Approval for Promissory Notes and Debt Insurance Program of the Federal Government. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, government, inherited by the present administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, the Federal Executive Council in July 2017 approved promissory note and bond insurance program to clear the arrears of outstanding obligations. The Senate also notes that the federal government set up a verification committee chaired by the then Minister of Power, Works and Housing to verify all claims submitted by the Ministry of Finance under the promissory notes and bond insurance program. The Senate further noted the amount was arrived at after rounds of negotiations and discount schemes agreed with the proposed beneficiaries. The Senate is aware that in March 2018, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria sent a request to the Senate for approval by the National Assembly to commence a 2,697,820,794,305.91 naira promissory note and bond insurance program to clear outstanding obligation inherited by this administration as follows. Unpaid obligation to pensioners, salaries and professional arrears to civil servants in the sum of 740,752,291 naira 351.91 kobo. Obligation to petroleum marketers on subsidy in the sum of 429,054,203,228 naira. Federal government major contractors and suppliers debt and outsourced liabilities of 654,536,499,797.6 kobo. Unpaid power bills and obligation from tariff reversal in 2014 to discos and gencos in the sum of 496,775 naira 452,038 naira 0.61 kobo. Export expansion grant scheme debt 350,383,295 naira 295,143 naira 0.23 kobo. Judgment debt of 112,958,703,764.45 kobo. Refund to state government for project undertaking on behalf of the federal government in the sum of 584,983,966,973 naira 0.18. The Senate further notes that the 8th National Assembly approved some of these promissory note and bond insurance in the following amount. 1. The 573,494.697 naira as payment of refund to 25 state government for federal highways project executed on behalf of the federal government. 2. 206,065 naira, and 65,107,252.69 as payment to various major contractors, and 348,003,054,975 naira as payment to petroleum marketers for arrears of subsidy, and 195,089,234 naira as payment to exporters as export expansion grants. The Senate is concerned that as part of the above approval in the sum of 1.322 trillion naira, a considerable number of these outstanding obligations, which accrued from period ranging from year 2000 to 2017 and now till date still remain unpaid. The Senate is disturbed that from the last figures published by the Debt Management Office on its official website in February 2020, only the sum of 914,212,563,852 naira has been issued under the federal government of Nigeria promissory note program as at December 31, 2019. The Senate is worried that after the approval of 1.3 trillion naira from the total sum of 2.3 trillion by the 8th National Assembly, nothing has been done in respect of approval of the outstanding balance of 1.3 trillion by the Senate or indeed the National Assembly. The Senate is troubled that the long-term debt effect on the various corporate entities whose money still remain unpaid after several years with the attendant financial consequences, including interest accruals, loss of jobs, and often failed companies. The Senate is further troubled that various companies have legitimate claim for interest and opportunity payment due to them as contained in the various contract agreements signed with the federal government, an issue which will require serious consideration, dialogue and negotiation between the federal government, the contractors and the financial institutions involved. The Senate observed that, for example, the outstanding claim in respect of the incentives and result-based export expansion grant scheme cover a period of 2007-2016, clearly showing that some of the accruals are at least 14 years past due. The Senate is worried that job losses, failed banks, failed companies going under, or between companies going under, which is a daily occurrence in Nigeria, are occasioned by the failure of government, ministry, departments, and agencies to meet financial obligations as contained in the contractual agreement. And Senate is concerned that the amount of outstanding liability of the federal government ordinarily will have swerved from the March 18th figure and will require an update of figure from the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. Accordingly, the Senate is urged to resolve to mandate the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt to resume the update and conclude consideration of the outstanding balance of 1.2 trillion being the long-standing obligation of the federal government of Nigeria, and make appropriate recommendation to the Senate for consideration on the issuance of the promissory note and the board issuance program. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Issa Jibrin.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibrin, representing Kogi East. First, Mr. President, I want to commend the sponsor of this motion for a job very well done, articulating all the issues concerned. I want to say that the issue at hand is very disturbing, especially as it has to do with the image of Nigeria and the credit rating of Nigeria before the international community. It is either the government has been unable to do it or it is not willing to do it, because an agreement was reached so many times and the government reneged on those obligations. Mr. President, having said that, I want to believe that there is a need to prioritize these payments, because it is obvious that the federal government cannot meet these obligations all at once. There is a need to prioritize these repayments. First, consideration should be given to the issue of unpaid obligations to pensioners, salaries, and promotional arrears to civil servants. And then, in order of priority, the issue of unpaid power bills and obligations also comes next. That is from my own perspective. Then, having said that, Mr. President, the beneficiaries of these monies should also be considerate. I want to believe that in a situation like this, the first point of call is the principal repayment. The issue of arrears and interest, where applicable, to me comes as a secondary factor. So the beneficiaries will also be able to bend backward and allow the federal government to first meet up with the principal obligations and then restructure the interest and arrears, the interest, and then the penalties, where applicable, to a future period. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Distinguished Senator Bima Mohammed Enagi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my highly respected, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Bima Mohammed Enagi. I represent the people of Niger South from Niger State. Mr. President, my highly respected, distinguished colleagues, I think you will agree with me that there is an urgent need for this obligation to be settled, considering the beneficiaries and also the consequences of non-payment on the economy. Top on the list of the beneficiaries are the pensioners and civil servants. The pensioners, these are people that have served this country, some of them for up to 35 years. They have retired. They are no longer strong. They rely on the little money that comes to them to be able to sustain their families and pay the fees for their children that are still going to school. I want to agree with the last speaker that it must be given priority so that these obligations will be quickly settled. Close to that are the contractors and suppliers who have used their money, who have also gone to banks to borrow money to execute projects, and they are not paid. It's very important that their claims, their monies are looked into as quickly as possible. A lot of Nigerians are losing their jobs as a result of this. Some bank obligations to banks, they are not able to meet obligations to their banks. Therefore, it's very, very important for this settlement to be done in good time. Closely related to that are the power bills by the MDAs, the ministries, the agencies, and the departments. We know what is happening in our power sector. If the GENCOs and the DISCOs are not paid, important for promissory notes used by the state government to construct highways, to rehabilitate highways that belong to the federal government. I think it's very, very important for this to be looked into as quickly as possible. I want to commend the mover of this motion and to call on my colleagues that this motion should be supported, and it's very important for promissory notes and bond issuance program to be used in good time to stabilize our economy. I so second. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Senate Leader.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I am here to first of all lay my support to this motion and also build on what the two previous speakers have said. But it is important, and I repeat, these are not new debts. These are obligations that are inherited by the present federal government. It's an obligation that has been inherited by the present federal government. They are not expenses that have incurred by this government itself. Now, when this obligation arose, the federal government set up a committee to look into this so that they can have a program of clearing these outstanding inherited debts, because of the fact that governance is a continuous business. They went through all the processes, including audit, Presidential Committee on Audit, and it was actually chaired by the current Minister of Works and Housing, who was then Minister of Power. So they made a submission totaling about 2.7 trillion and made a submission to this chamber. This chamber further looked into these issues, made submission to the various committees responsible for several issues there. Out of this, when you look in the paragraph 3 or 4, you will see the ones that have been treated. For those ones, the promissory notes were issued. So half of the obligations have been cleared. Half remain uncleared. So the major issue that is before this chamber is that this program has been implemented in half. The committee is bringing this to our attention, and it has made its own prayers. I believe that it is the responsibility of the government to clear its obligation. I also agree with my friend Senator Bima Enagi, that denial of some of these issues could hurt retired civil servants or pensioners, of which I am one, and also it will deny those who serve the government and gave services and goods and services who are not paid. Some of them went to banks and obtained money. So to refuel the economy and to resolve this thing, this is their right. I think something should be done about it. But I don't think, for me, it is right for this chamber now to ask its committee to go into this issue. This issue came up in the last Senate. I think the issue is to return back to sender. Tell the federal government now to give us a rehash of what had happened so far and where the issue of repayment of this program is, and then make a fresh submission of outstanding payments to this chamber again. So the chamber will take it into consideration. Because there may be some issues that have been left out there, and there may be some comings and goings which we do not know. So I think it is safer for this great chamber to ask the Ministry of Finance to consider this program and make a fresh submission to it for further legislative consideration. So I will want, when we come to the prayer, I will sponsor an amendment to that prayer, which if it is in the wisdom of this chamber to accept, we consider that amendment so that we can resolve this issue once and for all. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Leader. We have come to the prayer. So we have come to the prayer. And there's only one prayer. You want to amend it. Okay, what's the amendment?
I want to amend the prayer to read, advise the executive arm of government to review the outstanding payments under this program and make a fresh submission to the National Assembly for consideration.
Leader, legislatively advise is not the right thing. Maybe urge. Yes. So you can read it again.
Urge the executive arm of government to review the outstanding payments under this program and make a fresh submission for the to the National Assembly for consideration.
Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. I want to second the motion as moved, that is amendment, as moved by the Senate leader, that to urge the executive to make a fresh submission based on the current realities.
Distinguished colleagues, there is only one prayer. So those in favor of the prayer as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Any additional prayer? Senator Abraham Oluragbe.
Mr. President, having agreed with the first prayer as decided, I want that the Senate mandate the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt to investigate why the balance of from the 1.3 trillion that was approved by the 8th Senate was none of the motions. I did indicated that 1.3 trillion was approved, out of which, based on record, it's only 984 that has been paid. Or, I mean 914, sir. 914. So there is a balance unpaid by the finance or despite the approval of the Senate, so that the committee investigates why this balance were not settled despite the approval button, and then report back. That's the second prayer. It's different from the first prayer.
Why the balance was not paid? Leader of the Senate.
You see, what had happened, just like I said, was that the Senate considered and approved. For those ones that have been approved, those promissory notes and bonds have been issued. But those sections that were not considered by the Senate, they still remain with our Committee on Domestic and Foreign Debt, yet to be properly housed together and investigated so that we can come up and praise this chamber. But given the passage of time, something could have happened. So we said, okay, for those ones that have not yet been treated by this, let them go back and look at them again and make a fresh submission for us to consider. Because with the passage of time, anything could have happened, to some of those things not treated. So if we are to investigate, we will end up investigating ourselves, because the submissions have already been made. And the passage of time might have created certain lacuna within the consideration of those issues that have been there. So we thought it is better for a fresh submission to be made in respect of those ones that have not been considered than to consider them based on submissions that have been made in 2017. So these are the issues. So I don't think there's anything to investigate here. What is here on the ground is that those ones that were brought here and were approved by the Senate have already gone and they were treated. As far as we are concerned. In fact, for some of them, payments have been made, promissory notes have been issued, for some of them. But those ones that still remain untreated by this great chamber, those are the ones that we don't want to treat now in situ. We want them to now look at them and bring them with a fresh submission so that we can look at them.
Okay. I think that's we stand with that prayer alone. That is comprehensive enough. So this is the only prayer for now and has been adopted. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, judging from the mood of the Senate, I will rise to move a motion that we suspend and step down the consideration of all other items on our order paper to another legislative day. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we do step down all other items on the order paper till another legislative day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the consideration of the remaining items on the order paper till another legislative day, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion that given the conclusion of all items that we have on our order paper today, I rise to move that this Senate do adjourn consideration to Tuesday. What is the date of Tuesday? To Tuesday 14th day of December 2021. I saw at 10 a.m. from. I saw move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this Senate do now adjourn to Tuesday, 14 December at 10 a.m. prompt. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, the 14th day of December 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned to Tuesday, the 14th day of December 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you.